Hello, and a very warm welcome to FPL Agony, here to make Fantasy Premier League less like hell. And in today's live show, we're going to be doing an autopsy on the horror show that was Gameweek 3, whilst also looking ahead to some exciting fixtures, I think, for Gameweek 4, and probably some big tests for those when you're picking your teams and working out your transfers. So joining us this evening, he is the casserole connoisseur. He had chicken tonight, and he's forever blowing bubbles. It's Scott. Hello, Scott.
Wicked, fantastic. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? All right. What an absolute horrific week that was.
Had to be done. Massive in-joke there. And finally, well, our second guest really is, a fellow Chelsea fan. Blue is the colour, except when we're playing Leeds. It's Signore. Hello, Signore.
Hello, mate.
So we've got
a bit stressed about this season.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. We have a group chat going for FPL Agony, and I've heard the word wildcard come up in our chat, and that leaves me quite concerned after game week 3, right, Signore?
Yep. I mean, if you think about a wild card now, I think it's panic stations. I always try and wait until after the transfer window closes and then look to activate it. But try not to get caught into any traps. Last season, I got caught in the Ronaldo and Lukaku trap.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I just think it's just too early. I think it's too early. I don't know what you think, Scott, but I just think, it's all a bit panic stations at the beginning of the season. We've had some surprise results, including that Man United match, which happened last night. There's been some surprise along the way. Some of the teams you expect to do well are not doing well. But it'll all even out, won't it? We'll have the expected league table results by the end of the season, will we, Scott?
I don't know, talking about the wild card, I've seen a lot of people activate it this week. And going back 12 months ago, everyone activated it in Game Week 3 and Game Week 4 anyway last season. So this season there is more scope for it because of the fact there's like a World Cup wild card which comes into effect. Was it Game Week, is it 16 or something like that when the World Cup hits? So I can see why people are panicking and doing it. I've actually looked at potentially activating it. I don't think I will, but it's just like 3 or 4 players I really want in and just can't see myself hitting a -12 with my current position. So, yeah, I can see why people are doing it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think as we look ahead to some of the next fixtures in Game Week 4 and looking at some of the underachieving players so far in the season, I think that should highlight to everyone. I think whether or not we should be using the wild card, but I think the gist of it between the three of us is maybe just hold off on your wild cards. As FPL Tempo says, hold your wild cards, no rush, there's no need to panic, patience is the key, says Gaz. Absolutely right. I think what we should do, we should start by looking at some of the teams. So what I would like to do, I'll ask Scott first of all. I'd like you to talk us through your team, Haaland A Source. What transfers did you make and what did you make of the week?
Well, okay. So I made 2 free transfers. I put it out on the short as well. I took out Robertson just because of the price. I knew he was about to drop and I didn't really want to risk that. And I also, on the back of a great game week 2 for James with that goal against Tottenham, I thought, do you know what? Leeds, it's a great fixture for him. So make that direct swap. Save the extra 1 million and invest it into the midfield. So obviously I did Robertson to James and Neto, who I knew was also dropping, and brought in Martinelli because it was more like chasing what everyone else had. And it obviously paid off with the Martinelli assist. But overall it was a tough week for transfers. And I think I made a mistake with bringing in James over Robertson when I could have brought in someone like Zinchenko. But then I would have had to be careful with the Arsenal triple up on another way. But yeah.
And it's interesting you use the word chasing because I think that's what a lot of people are doing with their transfers. It's very reactionary at the moment. There's a lot of panic going on. When you look at the transfers, when you look at the people, some of the players who are being transferred out in the upcoming games week, you can see there's some big reactions happening. Are you going to have any big reactions going into Game Week 4, Scott?
Well, to be honest, I've gone really early this week and I've already made a transfer. I've made my free transfer just because of, again, Saka. His performances haven't really lit me up with great. Oh yeah, let's keep him in and keep up the Arsenal triple up. When, to be honest, I should have gone Martinelli from game week 1. So unfortunately, I've taken that Saka and I've brought in Luis Diaz, who wasn't exactly setting the world alight last night against Man United. But I'm hoping Bournemouth at home and a Liverpool triple up might be what they need to get back on track.
I mean, looking at your lineup of your team, I mean, it looks very strong. You've got a lot of big hitters. You've got Trent, who we need to talk about, which we'll come to, but Cancelo and Salah, Martinelli, who's had a great start to the season, Jesus, who has also done well, not so great last week, but still doing well, and of course Haaland, who again we need to maybe talk about. But I think, looking at your team, I think the structure of it looks pretty sound. Signore, I just want to kind of come to your team, if that's okay, which I'll just fire up on here. Your team, Rodri, Uplonka. 51 points for you. We've got some zeros, and that's what stands out for me. Cancelo, Alexander-Arnold, and me.
Does my bench not come on because they didn't play? No?
Yeah, your bench is looking quite good, eh?
Well, if I made a couple of team transfers, then fine. But yeah, do you know what? I took a hit this week, Matt. I had 2 free transfers. I thought about who to bring in, and I was caught in 2 minds. I thought, do I follow the trends and bring in James and Martinelli and just hit the 2 free transfers, or do I switch it completely and do I hit someone as a differential? I looked at Tony at Brentford. He's had a great start. He hasn't blanked so far. He's got some nice fixtures. So I thought I need the hit to actually get him in. So I took out Robertson and someone else, Cash. And I brought in a Brighton defender and I brought in a Brentford defender, as you can see there. And in the long run, this week it's paid off because I would have been actually down if I brought in James and Martinelli. So thankfully, it's worked out for me this week. But yeah, it wasn't a great week for the premiums, was it?
It certainly wasn't, but actually looking at, you brought in Tony, and actually going forward in the long term, that's a solid third striker to have. Do you think is someone you're going to keep for the rest of the season?
Ooh, up until the World Cup, potentially. Depending when I use my wild card before the World Cup, I might look at how I differentiate my team a little, just to try and break the trend, because I feel like I'm playing catch-up already. So it's just about being important and staying with a pack and trying to get some green arrows, because I've not seen one in a hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, how talking of arrows, how are we doing for arrows? I'm in 3 different leagues. I've got 3 red arrows. How are you doing, Signore, on your arrow count?
Well, we've got the red arrows, haven't we? I could be part of it.
Scott, how are you doing for arrows?
Well, I've got a red arrow. I'm the only one in the league, so I don't really know how that works. But no, I think I've got 1 green, and the rest of them are all reds. It's just dripping with red right now. Honestly, it's scary. It's a scary sight for anyone.
Remind me why we love this game.
Oh, we love the pain.
Why do we love this stress?
Lads. Come on.
It's the agony. It keeps us on edge. We've had a couple of comments about Saka. I just wanted to ask, because actually Saka is someone who's been arguably overshadowed by Martinelli. Where do you stand in a Saka recommendation?
Oh, I joined Scott. I took him out, and I actually made the same transfer. Brought in Luis Diaz.
We had a little chat about
great, like
it.
Scott said.
We had a little chat about it before the price drops, and we just agreed that it's a good opportunity to bring in Diaz, who's not gone up at all. So I think on paper it'll be a good move for the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting some moral support in the live chat with Gaz. The only way is up.
No, cheers,
and
Gaz.
now
Appreciate it, mate.
I've got a song stuck in my head. But yeah, I'll be humming that through the rest of the show, I think. But yes, thank you, Gaz. I think we need those words of wisdom and moral support, because it is a testing time. It's the same. I feel like it's the same the start of every season. We get those initial points through, and we start to think, I've made such a big mistake. But then when if you look back, and if you look at the stats, and if you on the Premier League app, you go through the stats, by the end of the season, you're looking at the very familiar faces who tend to be doing quite well. So there's no need for any panic, Scott, right?
No, I think it is still really early days, but I think the problem is, for me, who had such a great start last season, you're always going to compare, regardless of what players are in the Premier League anymore, the app, blah, blah, blah. I think you're always going to compare to last season. You're only as good as your last season. And currently, I'm probably like 60, 70 points down what I was this time last season. And that is a massive gap to kind of fill when some of the players that are in your leagues that have got those similar points from last year. So you're just playing catch up already in game week 3. That's the only issue I've got right now.
We've had, I think we're getting a bit trolled in the comments because, before the start of the season, Scott, you recommended Koulibaly, who went on to do very well in game week 2, and then in game week 3, not so well. Not one to recommend anymore, Scott.
No, not at all. And I think there are just particular transfers that I could have made that I should have listened to my own advice. Last week we spoke about Gundogan, and I was really interested in bringing him in. I had a screenshot, and I sent it to some of you lads about what my team would look like with Gundogan. Did I listen to my own advice? No. We spoke about Rodrigo last week from Leeds. Did I listen to the advice? Did we listen to each other's advice? No, we didn't. And Rodrigo had a massive haul against Chelsea.
And you've got some thoughts on Rodrigo, don't you, really, in terms of some
Rodrigo,
comparisons to last season?
Yeah, Rodrigo, I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think playing in that position...
Rodrigo.
Yeah, that's it. Playing in that centre-forward position with Patrick Bamford out and presumably on penalties. I don't know if he's taken one yet. I've not really been following, but I just think for that price point, he is this season's Benrahma. I spoke about it a lot last season about how Benrahma changed my start to the season amongst the rest of the pack. And for £6 million, everyone was like, Martinelli will be that player, and he is. But as a player that you didn't expect, Rodrigo is that guy. He's gone up, what, is he 6.4 now? Is he, or almost pushing 6.4, I believe. I think he's close to another price rise. And he's just pricing everyone out of what you can bring him in for, because he's just going up and up and up. And I think they've got some good fixtures, Leeds. They've really come on under Jesse Marsch. And I'm really having serious FOMO about him. The only way I can bring him in is on a -8. And I don't think I can do it. I just can't see myself hitting that minus yet this season.
And I guess there's no chance for either of you that you're going to be saving your transfer for game week 5, right? You're going to be making a transfer this week.
Yeah, we've already done it. So we're game over now, really. We might as well end the stream, lads.
Well, that's it. Thanks very much for watching. They made their transfers. We don't know what they are, but we'll see you soon. We've had a couple of good questions which I want to come to in a moment, so keep those coming. But before we get to viewers' questions, what I kind of want to discuss is captain choices. So, Signore, who did you pick as your captain, and are you happy with that choice?
So on Insta, I had the question put out there, who to put as captain this game week, because I think it was very torn between Jesus, Salah, Haaland, all very strong fixtures. I kind of broke it down to Jesus versus Salah, and I went with Salah. I just think historically against Manchester United, he always does well, and he did. And when it was like 75th minute and he was blanking, I was like, oh my goodness, this is turning out to be one of the worst game weeks I've had in a long time. And yet he popped up with a header, and that was life. I mean, I needed those points so badly, and I thought I was going to get some green arrows. They didn't come, you know. I don't know what happened. They just don't like me this season. I'm just seeing red. Simply red. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I went with Salah, and I think that was a sensible choice. Scott, you went Salah as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I just thought, do you know what? Effective ownership for Salah in that game week, on the back of what Man United were obviously starting with. Everyone expected Liverpool to beat them yesterday. I know we've got some Man United fans in our leagues and in our chat right now, and I just genuinely thought he would be the one to step up. And he did. I mean, right, it was a solitary goal, but he's always there in the right place. For points-wise, he was there for us. He saved the game week. We went up to 48, and that just got me the safety score, I think, and I'm happy with that. just to put the game week to bed really and move on. That's what I needed to happen, and that's what happened.
I think the Salah versus Jesus captain debate for the last game week was something that a lot of people were facing. And I think I picked Jesus. And I think for those who did pick Jesus, he didn't do so well this week. But I think the reasoning behind that was sound. Liverpool have not had a great start to the season, and Arsenal really have. They've had to make some, their squad and their first 11 is really exciting for the first time in many years. And actually, I think if you did pick Jesus, don't worry. You made a sound decision. That's who I picked.
I think if there wasn't VAR, I think if there wasn't VAR, you was about a toenail away from getting a goal off Jesus as well.
Yeah,
if I recall
absolutely.
watching the Bournemouth game.
I'd like to come to a couple of viewers' sort of comments. Just two I just want to go through. One's from James Blackwell. He's talked about transfers, made some transfers already. Ramirez out to Gross. What do you make of that transfer? Scott?
It's interesting.
You're pulling a face.
The community were making those transfers. A lot of the big hitters in the FPL community world, and obviously a lot of our YouTubers and stuff, were making those moves. They went Groves over Rodrigo. They went Groves over Aronson. And it's just not worked. They honestly thought Brighton would have Groves on penalties. I think he had a great start to the season, but he's playing fairly deep. I was at the game the other day at West Ham, unfortunately, and I had the eye test of watching him. And I don't think it's a long-running thing. I really don't think it's going to be every single week he is going to be performing to that haul he had against Man United. And he's not on penalties either. McAllister took the penalty against us. And, yeah, I think for the price point, it's not bad, but I think there are better options out there for what you're paying for him. I really, really do. I think even sticking to Neto is still better than having Groves, personally.
What do you think, Signore? Because Brighton have had a good start to the season, but you're not a fan of Gross?
The thing is, they play lovely football. I do like the way Brighton play football. I'm a huge fan of their manager. For FPL, I'm looking more of their defence than their attack. They're quite sound in defence. People talk about the double up in the goalkeeping situation. I've gone Dunk. I should have gone Veltman instead, because he's hitting those bonus points at the minute, which I was predicting Dunk might get. Going forward, I think Trossard's their main threat, but he's played a bit more out wide at the minute. It's put me off of his price tag as well. So I think Welbeck's looked quite good, but he's a forward. It's a hard one with their midfielders because, like Scott said, there's potentially other options in there. And I'm looking at other clubs over Brighton in the midfield area.
And potentially Brighton's an important differential if you're looking, when you're competitive in your various leagues that you're part of. Brighton has some names that lots of people won't be picking. So if let's just say, let me put a question to both of you then. If you had to pick one or two players from Brighton to maybe consider in your team, Scott, who are you picking?
McAllister. Watching him live the other day, I can see he really kind of dominates that midfield sometimes, and he's clearly on penalties as well. And when it comes to an FPL point of view, penalties is such a big thing when picking a player, especially if he's a midfielder, because you're obviously getting an extra point for a goal and for clean sheet points and whatnot. So I think I would go McAllister. If I'm looking at a defence, I would do what Signore did. I would go for Dunk, because you're guaranteed a start every week because he's obviously captain, or Veltman. So it's one of the defenders at the back, one of the centre backs, or McAllister. They're the two I'd be at 100% be targeting. Yeah.
Signore?
Yeah, I've gone Dunk. Like I said, maybe I should have gone Veltman. He seems to be picking up the bonus points at the minute. You could go their goalkeeper, Sanchez, who will get bonus points as well. As an attack, I think if you need a cheaper striker, Welbeck's playing all the time. He looks sharp this season. So maybe he is the option.
Yeah, he loves a goal against West Ham as well, by the way. Well, for the other day, but he does. He does.
Yeah, and my thoughts are with you, Scott, on West Ham's difficult start, but I'm sure it will pick up, absolutely. Yeah, Signore's shaking his head. It will. The West Ham will be fine. They always are
sure
fine.
You're talking about, no, there's more important things in life than football, lads. You know that, FPL being one of them.
Okay, I've got a few more.
being one of them.
It's the in-joke that none of our viewers know about. Okay, Mike Brown, transfer, Allison to Henderson. What do you reckon? Signore?
I mean, you save a hell of a lot of money. I don't know how many clean sheets they're going to get, Forest, and that's the thing that concerns me with that particular transfer. For a 4.5, like I said, you've got safer bets. You've got Raya from Brentford. You've got Sanchez at Brighton. I think they're safer bets. Me saying that, he'll probably save a penalty and get an assist next week. Don't worry about listening to me. It's just my little opinion.
It's interesting, Scott, I think, because the goalkeeper position is one of those positions in the team where lots of people tend to go cheap. But actually, when you look at some of the other teams, some of the teams are doing quite well, there's usually a goalkeeper behind a defence that's also done well. A goalkeeper is picking up 6 or 7 points in a week. Just remind us, who's the goalkeeper in your team?
Raya, he's my starting goalkeeper, and he only picked up, I think, was it a 2, I think, this week, because he got some save points as well. But I think I could have gone Sanchez, and I think thinking about it now long term, and I think we spoke about it on last week's live stream, I think Sanchez is probably the best 4.5 goalkeeper in the game. I really, really do, on that solid Brighton defence. And I am kind of regretting that now. I think, I spoke about how amazing this 7-pointer for Raya against Man United was. But again, I think that was quite a rare occasion. I think overall the best 4.5 is Sanchez at Brighton, fully. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so I do want to get to another question. This was posted a little while ago by Bellmister. Who's better, Walker, Trippier, or Perisic?
So the game, I'll be inclined to go Trippier. I just think
as
he's
a Trippier
got
owner,
returns at him.
As a Trippier owner, I think I would go Trippier as well as an owner, as I said. But I think with what he produced on Saturday in the early game, I would say Perisic. I think some of their fixtures look really, really good at Tottenham. And for 5.5, he's obviously dropped and gone back up to the 5.5 now. He would be the one to have instead of someone like James, in my opinion. I really, really do. I wish I would have held off a little bit and just played a bit more of an eye test on players. So I would have gone for Perisic again.
I think Conte trusts him as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a
He
meeting
trusts
with Haaland.
him.
He knows him.
It's just his age.
100%.
He's 106, so he's going to need rest days.
Yeah, absolutely. You finally got his age correct. You called him 109 before, Signore, so thanks, mate.
It's not the only thing I've got wrong over the week, so.
And it's
That won't be the last.
I just would like to remind you at this point, because we're talking about Newcastle. We spoke about right at the beginning of the season about how we're a bit worried about Newcastle in terms of having Newcastle defenders because they're likely to leak goals. But 2 Newcastle defenders, Trippier and Schär, are both really picking up the points. I think that's quite a bit of a surprise for Newcastle, right, Signore?
Yeah, and this guy, Nicholas Poppy. He's picked up some points, some clean sheets, some saves points. He's been doing well. So, all credit to them. Signore got that one terribly wrong. So.
I've had a really good question about Haaland. I want to come to that. Thank you, guys, for that question. I actually want to come to that a bit later in the show because I think we're going to be talking about some transfers. I kind of want to pin it into that. But before we talk about Game Week 4, what I would like to do is just have a quick look at the FPL Agony Fantasy League. And there we are. A very good friend of ours is going to get a shout out. Liam Ertone, One Man Wolfpack, currently holding the top spot in FPL Agony. Congratulations to you, Liam. Let's take a look at his team. He picked up 59 points, so not massively different, but he's had a really solid, consistently performing team throughout this. How about that, Scotty?
Yeah, I'm really chuffed for him. I mean, he normally starts the season quite well, as we know him quite well, and kind of last season he fell away a little bit towards the end when things obviously pick up and work and stuff like that. But he's been very consistent this season, making sure he is hitting those algorithms, and he's picking some really, really good players. He's You know, he went Martinelli at the start. I mean, we could talk about that forever and a day, Martinelli over Saka and stuff. But Andreas Saliba, what an absolute tidy option that was for him. 4.5 million and a great goal and bonus points on Saturday evening. Really, really solid looking team, which is going to, I think he doesn't really need to sit there and tinker too much either for the next few weeks. So I don't know how many free transfers he's got, but he's got options there now. He can just sit. There's a chance he might even need to burn a transfer, maybe just make a goalkeeping change or something like that instead of wasting it. I think he's done really well, and fair play to Liam. So well done, mate.
And we spoke at the beginning of the show about how people tend to be really reactionary. And actually, when you look at Saliba now, the amount of people transferring him in now is quite ridiculous. Signore, is Saliba someone you're thinking about having on your team at some point?
I thought about this if I was going to play my wild cards, because I've got Ramsdale in goal at the minute, who I think is a strong choice for goalkeepers. But do I go for someone like Sanchez, 4.5 at Brighton, and then bring in another cheap defender like Saliba, who's 4.6 now, I think, at Arsenal, who are going to keep clean sheets, especially with this opening run of games that they've got? Then that could be a strategy that I have. So I've got more money in the bank to boost more midfield options, for instance. So yeah, potentially, not saying 100%, but potentially that could work for me.
Excellent. Well, it'll be very interesting to see how Saliba does in sort of the rest of this season, particularly the next few games. Just having a look at our league table, we've got someone who's picked up 90 points. I'm just really curious. I mean, it's probably played triple captain or something like that. Pick up 90 points.
The bench boost.
Bench boost.
In the game, interesting.
Funny time of season to play bench boost, but it's paid off.
Bennett Shevlin. Oh my goodness.
Another casual we are aiming towards, people. I love it.
So yes, Manchester FC. Then this team picked up 90 points with a bench boost. Rodrigo on the bench. We mentioned Rodrigo and Tony. I mean, that's not a bad bench at all with those two players on it, and that's kind of paid off mostly. But got Odegaard, 2 goals the weekend. So very interesting. But I just want to go back to our table because, the person who's in first place picked up 59 points. If you go all the way to the bottom, we have to scroll quite a long way. We've got hundreds of teams. It goes on forever. It's still loading. This is ridiculous. If we go towards the bottom, there are still players sort of in the bottom part who are picking up a similar number of points. It's just something I thought was quite interesting, really. I think the key message from that is Game Week 3 was difficult. We all suffered, but it will be okay, right, guys?
Yeah, I don't think anyone suffered more than whoever was 2-2-8 in our league. I think they only picked up 17 points.
Yeah, that's a bit of
an ouch week.
That is an ouch week. Let's go back to which one. I want to look at that team. That's ridiculous. 217, did you say?
2-2-8. I don't know why that sticks in my memory.
That's amazing. 17
what
points.
Memory, Signore.
17 points then. Koulibaly with a -2. It wasn't. This isn't a great team. They had Cancelo with nothing. Varane, odd choice to have in a team. Not many people picking him. Foden with 2. Coutinho with 1. Jesus was the big scorer with 8. When one player nets nearly half the points for that week, you're not doing so well. So commiserations.
What's the name of this guy's team, Matt?
Change name.
Shout out to change name.
You need to change your name to change team, I think, mate.
Yeah, change your team.
Get another manager in, that's what I
say. Scott, you had a pal, Lee, who did his triple captain on Haaland already in Game Week 2.
Oh, that's my pal.
Mate.
Oh, was it your pal, Signore? Sorry, I don't know. I've got my show notes here. I don't know who's written what. Go on, Signore. You talk us through this one.
He's doing really well, He's been messaging me a lot. Like, he thinks he's going to win our league. Like, and he wants like a little prize. I'm like, mate, we've got no money. Like, whatever prize you think is prize. But he's doing really well. Again, he's hit it off really fast. A bit like Liam in that sense, where he's had a very good, consistent team. But he's gone early with his triple captain in Game Week 2. So yeah, maybe there's some chips that we can catch up later in the season with, for sure.
Absolutely, that's a very early time to be using triple captains. So that I have to say that's pretty worrying. Signore, I want to move on. This was Signore's suggestion. We had a discussion about this today. There's a new segment to the show called Bench Nightmares. It's all about the music.
In there.
So we've got 4 teams on our screen, and here we go. Benches that did really well. I'm just digging all the music in the background and leave that playing quietly. Okay, so we have a team name placeholder. Had Sancho on the bench with 8 points, Rodrigo on the bench with 13 points, Mendy with 2, Shah with none. But that's quite a high scoring bench if you're not playing a bench boost, right? Manchester United, 2 for Mendy on the bench, Trippier with 6, Neto with 2, Jesus with 4. Hang on, that baffles me. What is going on? Sorry, what? I've just picked up on this. Manchester United, you have Jesus and Trippier on your bench.
All I can think is that he has made his team back in, game week 0 and just not changed anything and just left it there. And he's probably not even logged on since then. So he probably don't even know what FPL is, to be fair, bless him. But yeah, to have Greenwood starting ahead of Jesus is something that we need to get questioned, I think. And let us know if you are watching today, mate. Follow us on Instagram or Twitter and send us a little tweet and let us know. Because it's a head scratcher. I'm not going to lie. It's a bit of a head scratcher.
So that is the true nightmare. I'm looking at all the teams. That is by far the most WTF moment of the show, I think. We have another team with Leno with 2. How do I even say that second one? Stuick with 6. Wilson with 6. Johnson with 9. Pretty high scoring bench. In WRTFC with a bench with Pickford with 7. Genpo with 2, Lamptey with 0, Rodrigo on 13. So some proper bench nightmares. Good benches if you're playing a bench boost because you're doing really well with those. But honestly, yikes. We're so sorry, right, Scott?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I think we need to organise some sessions with everyone to console one another because they're, it's like almost Fright Night has come early when you see some of those numbers. I mean, I think looking at, is it who to goal? I think that is an average bench on each position, having a 6 in defence, a 6 in the forward line, and actually, you're looking at 15 points in the forward line there. That's a lot of points to lose on the bench, especially in the forward position anyway. And it's not like he's got 2, heavy hitters up front as well. He's still got 2 average price strikers. So I'm surprised he's not starting both Johnson and Wilson ahead of like Onana at Everton, really, and Robertson at Fulham. It's that kind of confuses me a little bit. Makes me feel he's enough casual, but we all love them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's one big lesson for all the viewers watching and everyone listening watching after the show. There's one big lesson. No matter how bad your game week 3 was, at least you don't have Jesus on your bench. It's all good. That'll always make you feel better. Let's take a look now then at the fixtures. Let's move on to Game Week 4, our fixtures. So here's what we got coming up. Some really exciting matches, I think. Southampton versus Man United, Brentford versus Everton, Brighton versus Leeds, Chelsea versus Leicester, Liverpool versus Bournemouth, Man City versus Crystal Palace, Arsenal versus Fulham, Aston Villa versus West Ham, Wolves versus Newcastle, and Nottingham Forest versus Spurs. Signore, any of those matches sound kind of exciting to you? What stands out to you there?
Me, I'm hoping all my premium players start hitting like form again. That's what I'm hoping first and foremost. But I do think there is an interesting fixture in there with Notts Forest and Spurs because Tottenham have been a bit slow in the first half of games. Forest at home, they've been quite energetic. It could be a slippery moment for Spurs. But I might be wrong again. But it could well be.
And Scott, any matches that stand out for you?
I think actually, to be honest, it's the Southampton Man United game because I think this is the real test of where we see the real Man United now, or the new real Man United, the real new Man United. Because that performance yesterday was it was a shock, to be fair. And Eric Ten Hag has finally maybe put his stamp on that team, and I think dropping Ronaldo is, from a football point of view, has really helped him develop that team now and get that kind of character and that character because against who was it in the second game of the season against Brentford, he played Eriksen as a forward, and which made no sense whatsoever when you've got abundance of talent there, when you've got your Martials, you've got your Rashfords, and then yesterday he stripped it back, put him back in the midfield alongside Bruno, and you can tell Bruno's game is improved because of that, and I think the game this weekend will be really, really, really interesting to see how they turn up. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I think from a transfer point of view, Chelsea and Leicester's a very, very game to watch because of the Wesley Fofana situation. He's obviously been, or he's not in the best place to play. And I highly doubt Leicester will agree to the deal before that game, obviously. So we could see another exile for Fofana on the bench. And my club as well, I think we really need to pick up some points. And Aston Villa are in a bit of a similar situation to us, so it'll be a very high and hopefully a good game for us. But we'll see. We'll see. From an FPL point of view, Arsenal, I've got some players there. I invested in some Arsenal, invested into some City, invested into triple Liverpool again. So hopefully Diaz hits a hat-trick, not too much to ask. Salah hits 4 as captain, that's fine. And Trent gets on the other end of some crosses for once and not actually taking them. So yeah, hopefully that all happens. Not much to ask. Hoping for a nice 224 points for this season. For this game week, sorry.
This game week, that'd be a record, I think. I have to look. I look at the fixture list, and there's one that stands out to me that leaves me a bit worried. There's a lot of people who've seen Arsenal make a good start, and lots of people have 2 or 3 Arsenal players in their main 11. Arsenal versus Fulham. Fulham made a decent start against some good players. Can you see Arsenal picking up some points when they're playing Fulham, Signore?
Yeah, I mean, Fulham have impressed me again. I like the way they play football. I said that in the previous episode. I was still at home. I mean, Jesus looked amazing last home game. Scott, in all honesty, he's more going to be my captain than Salah this week, purely because of how he performed at home last time round. But again, Salah's going to be a very strong contender again.
I do think this is the game week where things change. The template's starting to get broken now. The game week template and the transfer template's broken. And I think the point swings will be a lot bigger this week than most. And I think this is where, if you're an experienced player, this is where you kind of get back in the game. You start taking those strides back to your normal positions and stuff in your overall ranks. And I think this is where the casuals maybe start to fade out because captain picks. This is where the real skill comes into it. And I agree, it's out of the 2 of them. And I've not made up my mind yet. I mean, I think it's on Salah, at the moment, because obviously I've not changed it from this last game week. But it's so tricky. Bournemouth at home or Fulham at home, It's going to go to the wire, in my opinion. It's going to be me. It's going to be right down to the 11 a.m. deadline, 100%.
My thing with Fulham, Scott, and Matt, let me know about this. I think Bournemouth at Anfield might sit back a little. Fulham, their emphasis and their ethos of football is to play their game. Now, they might get opened up a little bit by Arsenal. That's my thinking of going with Jesus. Over Salah.
Wow, so we've got quite a firm commitment from you, Signore. We're saying Jesus for captain in game week 4. Scott, you want a bit more time? To throw my hat into the ring, I think I'm going to stick with Jesus. I'm going to give him one more chance. He didn't do so great for me this time, but I do look at Arsenal, Fulham. I think you're right. Fulham could get opened up a bit, and I just feel like, for me at the moment, and it feels weird saying this, but Jesus is a little bit more exciting for me as in terms of picking an FPL player than Salah at the moment. And I think that's not down to Salah, it's down to Liverpool's kind of iffy start to the season. But Scott, do let us know who you pick as captain. Post it on the Twitter. Let us know when you've decided for sure.
Well, if I do go Salah and you boys go Jesus and it doesn't go my way, you're going to probably have to find a new member of FPL Agony. So, guys, stick your applications out in the chat down there on YouTube, and we'll do some interviews, all right?
Okay, fine. It's a
Yeah.
challenge. Here's a cameraman challenge for the viewers of this live stream. Then, post one sentence why you would make a great host or great guest on this show. Let us know. Post the comments. I can't wait to see what people write. Amazing stuff. I kind of want to. We've kind of made some decisions about about captains. I want to talk about transfers because people are going to be looking ahead. People are looking at some very specific players and how they've started and think is now the time to transfer them out. There's one player I want to talk about in particular. That would be Trent Alexander-Arnold. Current price 7.5 million, has picked up 4 points so far in the first game. Honestly, when you look at the people, look at the defenders who have picked up more points than Trent, it is hilarious. So we're looking at that iffy start to the season. We know Trent's a quality player. We know that he will come good in the season and maybe bring him back. But what's your position then? If you have Trent on your team, do you transfer him out this week? What do you do, Scott?
So I've been watching a few videos and I've seen a lot of people talking about taking Trent out. I think he's also dropped in his price now. I think he's only at 7.9. I just think it's a very scary thing to do, to take him out of your team just before Bournemouth at home. That's just my personal opinion. I think we should hold just that little bit longer because I think he will come good. I like to stick by my premiums quite regularly, so I feel like he will do it because of the experience I've had with him in the past, where he's had a bit of dip in form, and he's come back and really bit some managers. Like he really has. I remember, I think we spoke about it last week, but there are times where people have taken him out and bring him back 3 weeks later because they just know they can't be without him. So I would hold personally, but I think post Bournemouth, again, I'd look to sell if he doesn't perform soon enough. But I would hold for this week personally.
Do you reckon he could face a price drop if he doesn't make an impact in the next game? Because that is a risk.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'm surprised he hasn't dropped yet, but I think he's close to a drop. I think it's tonight. I think he's actually dropping tonight to 7.4. So there is a decision managers do have to make if they do want to get rid. They want to protect that 0.1. Yeah.
Because that for me, that is a serious decision I'm making. I have Trent on my team. I think I can just free up some. You can get Saliba even and free up a few million quid to take for me a -4 and upgrade another player on the team and maybe trying to get some better results. Let's think then. For those, Signore, let's go back to this. Signore, what's your thoughts on transferring out Trent?
No, I'm same with Scott. I'll hold. I think see what the stance is when I eventually come around to play my wild card before the World Cup, and then make a decision. Because, like you rightly said, if you need to get rid of him, you've got all that cash that you can easily throw into a different defensive player or elsewhere in midfield or up front. It's just interesting. I noticed something. I looked at the top 3 players in the game. None of them have Trent. None of them have Cancelo. None of them have Salah. None of them have Kevin De Bruyne. And I just found that really interesting, that none of them got these players in their teams. And these are the top 3 players. So
that is wild, isn't it? Really, when the consensus amongst the FPL community is to go for those types of players, and you look at the top teams and they haven't got it, that is wild. That's quite unbelievable.
That's what I would say.
It's quite a scary place to be in, though, to go without them so early in the season. Because if they do haul, and they haul for 2 games in a row, it's a potential 25 points you're missing out on there. And these do make differences to someone's season. And I know he hasn't done it yet, but I think he will come good. I mean, that would be an easy way for me to get to one of the transfers I want to do. But again, that is involving a current -4. But realistically, my plans involve a -8. and I just can't see it, to be honest. No,
Let's just put a hypothetical to you. Let's say there is someone watching this show who has absolutely decided Trent's gone, right? They want to free up some cash, upgrade a midfielder or something like that, or whatever. They decide that Trent's gone. I'm going to put some names to you about possible replacements. I'd love to know your thoughts. Perisic, would you bring him in?
Yes. Easy. Yes.
Saliba?
I think that...
Saliba, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Zinchenko?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a yes from both of you. Shah? Newcastle?
No.
Not sure.
Trippier?
Yes.
Possibly.
Okay, possibly. Okay, that's really interesting. We got some firm yeses though over Perisic, Saliba, and Zinchenko. I wasn't quite expecting that, given how you're both thinking. Actually, we would keep him. There are some decent alternatives, I think. So I think it'd be interesting to see what the FPL community decide in terms of Trent's fate. I think I want to go now to a question that I got posed earlier from Gaz. Haaland out, Kane in. What are your thoughts? Haaland out for Kane.
Yeah. Pep, brother, you cannot do this to me, right? So every season I go through this stress with you, right? I need this guy's personal number just to say, look, what's your starting 11? Because he's already come out and said, hasn't he? When we have 2 or 3 breaks in between games, he isn't going to start every game. And that worries me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree. I mean, by the way, I'm not Pep, just in case anyone thought I was. The quotes are very alarming, and I think it is a trigger point because I've looked at a move that I really want to do, and we spoke about him all day or all session. You know, I've said about Rodrigo, and there is a way I can do it where I'll take Haaland out and bring in Kane, and then take out Bailey and bring in Rodrigo for -8. I mean, it's not an ideal world, but if that means that in 4 games' time I save a transfer, it's something I'm looking at, but I think it's another one I have to make a decision by tonight because I think Rodrigo's going up again. So I've already made an early transfer. I don't want to do another 6, to be honest.
It's interesting because from an FPL point of view, Haaland's basically fine. His form's on 8.0. He's got 24 points so far. It's been fine. I mean, he's not, for the last couple of games, not been amazing, but he's involved. He's picking up points still. It does feel. It does feel. Scott just dropped his phone. You're right there, Scott.
Yeah. At least I didn't lock off this week so far.
Yeah, exactly. You've held out your signal. That's brilliant. Yeah, I think the thing for me is that you think about replacing Haaland, but with who? Like, who are you picking? Because for me, Kane's not very exciting early on in the season. I considered having Kane in the team, and then before the deadline day, before game week 1, I took him out because actually I just thought he's a slow starter. It takes him a while to get going, and he'll probably be in the top 3 scorers of the Premier League this season, right? But it takes him a while to get going. But apart from that, like the options aren't as exciting as we've said before. The options up front are not as exciting as the options you have in midfield, right, Signore?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably go cheaper. I wouldn't look at a Kane if it was me personally. Liverpool are going to be hard to predict who they're going to play up front because when Jota comes back and Núñez comes back from suspension, who are they actually going to play? Salah's guaranteed for me. Diaz is going to cement that other flank. So it's who plays there in the middle. Jota's so good. How can you put him out? But then you paid 80-odd million for Núñez. I don't know. I would maybe look at someone who is a decent goal scorer, like Callum Wilson, for instance, who might blank every now and then, but will take chances if they come his way.
He's injured again, Signore.
Are you joking?
He's gone. Yeah, Callum Wilson.
All right, well, maybe not
I
him.
told you. I told you many weeks ago off screen. He'll last to about game week 3, and he actually has picked up an injury. So
Maybe not
maybe
him.
not. Signore, the biggest bit of advice I
What
can
about
say is
Alan Shearer?
probably
Is he
bring
still
him in.
playing? Can he go in there?
I think you should bring in Callum Wilson this week, Signore. 100%. I think that would be a great option for your team.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, buddy.
I just want to put some other names to you because there are some players who, at various price ranges, are sort of, we might consider them underperformers or underachievers at this point of the season. We have Alvarez on 6.3 million, who's picked up 2 points. I'm guessing we have mentioned Alvarez on the show before. I think all the way back in the second episode. I think. Scott, your thoughts on Alvarez? Is he likely to get points this season now?
I think when the Champions League hits, he will be starting more games, and that's basically what Pepper said now. Is, when I can't play Haaland every game, I'll be playing Julian, and I think that's when you'll see him come into his own. But I think for nailed on 90 minutes a starter, I think there's better players out there, potentially even less money than him. And then if you're looking at the 7 million price range, you're looking at Ivan Toney's, those types of players. I think there's better players out there than Julian Alvarez, personally. Even if you're looking to take out Haaland.
One question I have, and I'll put this to you, Signore, I suppose. I want to talk about Ronaldo because you did a shorts and a TikTok on Ronaldo, and I just find this quite funny. I am wondering if anyone actually has Ronaldo in their team. 10.4 million, 4 points. It's a bit of a sad way for Ronaldo to end up, isn't it?
Yeah, for someone who's been phenomenal in our generation of football, FPL. I mean, if there was a La Liga FPL, I'm not sure if there is or not. He would have been 15 million euros for sure. Yeah, I didn't think this was going to be the season for him. But then again, like I said in my short, I couldn't see him going anywhere because who would pay his wages? Who would buy Man United? The price they want for him, that's
PSG.
Why I can see him staying. Maybe.
Could you imagine if PSG signed Ronaldo? That'd be amazing.
And Messi.
I'm sure.
I don't know. That's what I'd love to know. That is what I'd love to know.
Young Kylian will have.
I want to talk about a player that Signore is a massive fan of, and that's our very own Johnny Cash. Matty Cash, 4.9 million, 4 points. Cheap and cheerful. Well, actually, cheap, but not so cheerful. Scott, Matty Cash, one to avoid?
Oh, absolutely. Hell, avoid him beyond belief, honestly. I mean, just to see the torture that Signore went through. When, what I'm doing right, I'm picking up Signore, and and Signore's been picking up Cash, and bomb, and it just not work out was the funniest thing I've ever seen, and it's a shame because he's been a real option at times. Last season, I think he solidified in that fullback position for Villa on the right hand side, and it's just not happened. And I think Villa's defence is very vulnerable at the moment, and I'm hoping this is where we actually score a Premier League goal this weekend, because we're the only team in English football, lads, that haven't actually scored a league goal yet.
No way.
Yeah.
Maybe we should sign a striker.
Well, we have, and we've not been playing. So.
Yikes.
Well, I'm glad we've got 4 now in my team.
I did wonder, you made that transfer, didn't you? I did wonder what on earth you were doing there.
It's just to go. I like to have at least one player that's different from what everyone else is thinking. And I saw he had a very low ownership, and I thought, that might work because he does get in good positions. I mean, he hit the crossbar against Nottingham Forest. He nearly got an assist against them as well. Like a different day in that, he gets 12, 15 points. Alas.
Let's talk about Robertson. We talked about Robertson last week, so we're just talking about him very quickly now. 6.9 million currently, was 7. 4 points. Is there a way back for Robertson into anyone's FPL team this season? Signore?
Not yet. I think if you binned him and you've got Trent, not yet. Because they will come back this season, and when they start hitting form again, if people want to have that double up again, then yeah, maybe. Because he is on set pieces, he is in the box when Trent gets some crosses in or Salah pulls the ball back. Sometimes he's always there. I don't know, but not yet for me.
We had one comment from Salty Popcorn: Trippier over Cash and Uri. That's the solution. Bit of a price difference though, isn't there? I think. How much is Trippier? 5 million. Oh, 0.1. Oh, fine. It's a no-brainer then, really. Actually, why would you have Johnny Cash, Matty Cash in your team? Doesn't make sense.
Well, he a bit like the quarterbacks that we have been talking about. You know, he does get in those good positions and he does score goals every now and then. It just hasn't worked out for me at the start of this season.
Fair enough. That's the best bit of our shows. Whenever we mention Matty Cash, who was misnamed by Scott as Johnny Cash. Was it Johnny Cash? Yeah, what's he? Yeah. We have a nice little rendition from Signore there. I love that. We've had 2 applications to replace Scott as one of the people on the show. So Dill says he'll do the data for us. So there we go. Nice. That's a good shout. We need a data person for sure to help us out with this stuff. Nice. And one from Harrison, who just says, "I'm an American."
Get some personality. Those charisma tablets. We need to get some more of them, don't we?
Yeah. We need to get some over. We're running out, lads. We're running out.
But that means, Signore, you'll have to refer to it as soccer then, won't you? Could you do it?
I called it Soccer M for years because that's the show, but no, it's harder.
Anyway. One quick comment from James Blackwell. I think the transfer everyone has to make is Son out, who's 12 million. I took him out after game week 2, so I guess I was ahead of the curve on that one. Yay, go me. I haven't seen a lot of teams with Son in it though. I mean, it seems to be not being picked that often, and probably now for a good reason, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, you did the right thing last week taking him out because again he dropped in price as well, and I think even at this stage of the season, that 0.1, in the bank just makes such a huge difference when you can kind of spread it across your team and whatnot. And yeah, it's just such a shame what's really happened. But he will come back. He will come back. There will be a part in the season where Son will always come back and just start hitting double-digit hauls for 3 game weeks in a row. Look at it last season when he really carried some people's teams towards the end of the season. I remember when Signore brought him in ahead of the curve, and with our mini league, he caught up to me with Son. And one of the ways I counteracted that was hitting him on the wild card with adding him in, and then kind of just saw it through. And he will come back. It's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the game that Conte's playing at the moment. I'm not too sure. I can't really answer, but he'll come back. But he's just right now, he's not an option. I think there are much better players out there at a cheaper option than Son.
Mike Brown, just to quickly change subject, has offered to bring Spam if he's going to be a guest on the show. Thank you, Mike. A good question from Salty Popcorn. Do you guys think Sancho will catch form now?
Ooh.
I don't know. He's hot and cold, isn't he?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of wildcards out there that have hit triple Man United after last night, so potentially, who knows? But yeah, I think he's the type of player that Erik ten Hag will get really working in that team. But I still think out of all of those, you'd hit someone like Rashford. I think Rashford played really, really well. I think he's starting to run at those teams now, which he wasn't doing last season. He wasn't, his style of play wasn't hitting those. And I think he will be the one in a couple of weeks' time. But I think it's too early to jump on any Man United assets at the moment, personally.
Yeah, Sancho's current price is 7.3 million, and you can see why a lot of people haven't picked him. He got 10 points in game week 3, but his total for the season is 13. Got Southampton away, Leicester away, and then Arsenal at home. Not tasty fixtures, not someone to bring in now, I would have thought, right?
Yeah, I agree. Not yet. Not for me. I think, like Scott said, if I'm going to pick someone from Manchester United, it probably would be Rashford. He looks like he's gaining a bit more confidence again. His price is a bit more appealing.
You know, we talk about the eye test, and I think that was a good eye test last night, but it's only one game. We need to, as I've been speaking about, I think that game against Southampton is going to be really, really key. And I think this is where you'll start to kind of make your mind up about some Man United assets after that match for reasons against.
So James has sort of extended that question, asking about bringing in Man United players. Is now the time? We've seen a reaction. We saw the protests. We've seen a reaction against Liverpool. You know, if you were to bring in a Man United player or players, who would you bring in? I mean, Rashford maybe, Signore? What would you do?
Maybe. I mean, a bit like Jesus in pre-season, Martial had a really good pre-season. You know, when he was playing up front and those runners around him. Maybe if he's because he's had a minor injury. If he starts hitting that form again, and he can start playing some minutes again, he might be tempting, to go in my team.
Scotty, what are your thoughts on bringing in any Man United players?
I think they're so prone to conceding goals, so I would not touch any defence or you know, the Gea in goal. I really, really wouldn't. As we spoke about Rashford, Sancho, I think still needs to pass the eye test. But apart from that, it's really tricky. I'm with Signore on this. It would only be Rashford for me because of the price point. I think is he dropped now, Rashford? I think he dropped down to, is it 6.4 potentially? You can make it work, but yeah, it's still too early. Ask me in 2 game weeks time, and I might have more of an idea. But yeah, just Rashford for now.
We'll just do one more question, I think, and then we'll look at sort of maybe from both of you, transfers or possible transfers or future targets you might want to make. But one question from Dill, I think I know the answer to this one. Watkins or Tony or Wilson? One word, Scott.
Well, if I'm answering for Signore, I'm going to say Wilson because I think you should bring him in this week. Tony. I'm actually quite jealous of all the Tony owners, and I'm not looking at Signore right now. Yeah, I think he's the one. I think his price is going to, I think, soar quite highly this season, actually. I think he's the vocal point of that Brentford attack. And they've got some good players there at Brentford. They really, really have, just from a football point of view. And they play really good football, and he's at the centre of all of their attacks. So, yeah, Tony all the way for me.
And Signore.
Big T. I brought him in last week for a -4 and it was worth it. So,
Yeah.
What did you say? Did you say Big C? Big Callum Wilson?
You're not going to let him forget that one, are you, Scott? Wow.
No. I was going to say Big W, but I don't know if we'll go down there.
It's just Callum Wilson and Johnny Cash in a 2-man FPL team, I think. Signore would be great.
Right, let's finish up in the last bit of the show. We're just going to finish up in a few minutes then. Future targets, like long term, who are you looking to bring in? Let's start with Signore. Who would you like? Who you got your eye on? You think, yeah, if I transfer here, a transfer there, this is the kind of player I want to bring into my team.
There's a couple, and they're kind of differentials. So I'm looking at some of the Leeds boys. I didn't see them until I watched the Chelsea game, and I watched extended highlights against Southampton. Rodrigo, Harrison, they're very busy and they're getting some great positions. They're all on set pieces. Potentially one of them, whoever I might be able to afford, could come in. Zaha could be someone else I'm looking at. He's looked lively for Palace at the start of this season as well. So he could definitely be someone. And I don't know, could be a massive risk, but I don't know whether to double up on the Brighton defence.
That's a big call, Signore. That is a big call.
I need some differentials to get some green arrows.
Scott's face is one of pure horror. Scott, what are your thoughts?
You thought I was frozen in, but I wasn't. I think Signore hit one of mine. Zaha, I think he has made a tremendous start to the season. Really, really much so. And I think they've got some good fixtures, Palace. I think they're such a well-oiled team under Vieira. And I think if, I've been speaking about Rodrigo all stream, and I'm not going to change. I'd always say him. But I do believe that Zaha is a really good target. And again, I spoke about him last week, but Gundogan as well at City. I think he is going to nail that position. Obviously, depending on rotation with the Champions League, but even at 7.6 million now, if you want to, again, you're talking about your Son or something like that, and you can't get up to KDB. Son to Gundogan plus funds in the bank is quite a tidy option to have, I think. So yeah, I would look at them too. I think they're really good options, and I agree with Signore on the Leeds boys.
What would you think of Saint Max, Scott?
Oh, he looked really good, didn't he? I only caught the highlights because obviously I was quite unwell over the weekend and stuff. But he is such a tidy player. FPL aside, if they don't play him week in, week out, he should be in a top. I think Newcastle are going to solidify themselves as one of the top 6 clubs actually this season. I think they play really, really good football, and they took City to the limits there. They went 3-1 up, and I don't know what's his price, and is he back as a midfielder in the game? Because if he is, that's
I think
fire.
he had a drop before the City game. I think he's 6.4.
Yeah, I think that's fire. That would be 100% to target. And again, they've got good fixtures as well. I think they've got good fixtures. I know they've got Liverpool coming up after Wolves.
Oh, you're playing a dangerous game there, Signore.
Sorry, mate.
Well, on that note, we're going to round up the show. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's got involved in the comments. We do have an FPL Agony store. The link will be in the description of that video. You can head over to bit.ly/FPLA store for your t-shirts, your mugs, your cushions, your pint glasses, your bags, your water bottles. It looks amazing, lovely colours, all great stuff, and it's really expensive. It costs a fortune, but it does help out. It does help out the channel. So do consider buying it. That'd be very nice of you. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We're going to be going live every week for a great chat. Lots of good stuff going on. So please hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and now Instagram. Signore, I apologise, I haven't put the Instagram logo up on our video, but you can follow all of our social accounts at FPL Agony, and we'll see you there. Any closing thoughts, Scott, or any messages you'd like to convey to?
We're 5 subscribers away from 300 on YouTube, so that would be really good if we can get up to the 300 mark. We really, really appreciate it. It's been so much fun kind of getting to this point now, and we're starting to, get used to the live streams, and I think we will continue to build. And send us your suggestions, guys, because we want to hear what you want to add, what you want us to add to the show, what you can add to us as well, as the applications are going in there to replace me. So that's a good start. But yeah, no, get involved. We really appreciate all your comments on Twitter. We have some really good conversations with people over there. And just long may it continue, really. And thanks to everyone to keep joining in and sticking with us, really. So thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Signore, any closing thoughts?
Just join us next time on FPL Agony, where we will be sharing more stress, anxieties, and agony that make us love the pain of this sodding game.
Scott's furious. Signore, you stole his line. And I'm going to steal both of your lines. I'm going to steal both of your lines because I'm going to round up the show. We're going to end it there. And all I want to say is, may all of your arrows be green. Thank you very much. See you next time.